Hello, hello, and welcome back to the podcast. My guest this morning is LaJune King. She is a fabulous family photographer out of DFW area. She's going to tell you exactly where, but we have this fight every time we say it. So, good morning, LaJune. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I am trying to wake up for you.
And you know, I've been awake for hours. It's okay,
Yes.
guys. I warn people when I invite them onto my podcast. I'm like, I record first thing in the morning when I am fully caffeinated and happy. If you need a later time, please let me know, but just know that I will probably be dragging. So, why don't you tell the listening audience exactly where you're located and who you serve?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is LaJune King. I am a personal branding and family of color photographer based in Frisco, Texas. If you don't know where Frisco is, just think of the Dallas Cowboys. They practice where I lay.
Hmm. That part.
hmm
So you are a personal branding and photographer for families of color. Now,
hmm
LaJune, I just feel like you are one of the people who has the most specific clientele in mind when you
hmm
market. So how did you land on that particular area of specialty?
2020. 2020, we were losing a lot of Black people, as you know. And George Floyd stuck out tremendously to me. So in that moment, I had to kind of be the change that I needed to see. And so I decided to go balls to the wall and let clients know who look like me know that somebody looks like them and is willing to take their photo and push out their joy. So if ever they became a hashtag, I have the joy to push out because we know what the media, how they would spin it. So,
I mean, that's such a good point because, in general, I feel like, I mean, everybody has iPhones now. Everybody constantly takes pictures of their own family. But in terms of actually hiring a photographer, I do feel like, in a lot of ways, our people don't do it as frequently as I would like them to. And so I do love that you put that message out. Today, we are going to talk about how you branched out in your business. And so, one of the things that I find fascinating is when I hear of one of my fellow photographers opening a studio, because I think we all know I don't do outside. I don't do studio. I want to come to your house, like LaJune says, where you lay, and I want to get you as natural as possible. But I have literally been obsessed with watching you and your business grow through the studio. So tell me, what prompted you to open a studio?
well, I don't know if you think like I do as a photographer, but I thought that in order to become a successful photographer, you had to have a studio. So I have put the studio on my vision board. I moved to Frisco, Texas, and I said, okay, I'm gonna add it to my vision board because why? It's something cool and I'm supposed to have it. So yeah, I put it on my vision board every year since 2015. And then January 2020, that vision board I created, I took it off. I was like, okay, you know what? It's been a long time and I haven't gotten it. It's cool. And I'm like, I don't need a studio to, you know, validate what I do, why I do all this stuff. And that same year, we got COVID and it's like the world shut down. We didn't think we were going to go back to work. At least I did not. And so I was like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. And then my husband had actually started looking for studios, but again, the world shut down. And the few people who did call us back wanted crazy prices or whatever for their studios. February 2021, we had the crazy snowstorm for 2 weeks or whatever around Valentine's Day. And we looked at a space, and the space that we looked at happened to be a space that he had inquired about the prior year.
Mm.
And she said, I knew his name sounded familiar. I just, couldn't remember what happened to him. Well, they had a bot system that wasn't set up properly to go back to them. So it was just in the wind, our contact information, and saw it. I loved it. I could not show on my face that I loved it because he's like, listen, they're
We got
gonna
to
charge us.
negotiate.
Yeah, they're gonna charge us $1 billion if you sit up here and act like you like it. So I was like, walked in, I was like, hmm, this is nice. I like this. Okay. And then so he already knew that I had just fallen in love with it. And here we are today. We made it work out.
So the studio's been open for a little bit more than 2 years now.
Uh-huh. We are walking into year 3 on May 1st.
Nice. And so
Mm-hmm.
beyond, okay, so you didn't need the studio for validation anymore, but
Mm-mm.
what benefits have the studio brought to your business and maybe to yourself?
Well, I wanted to still have the studio because I was tired of traveling to Dallas, going 34 minutes one way, minimum without any issues on the toll road. I just wanted to be able to have something closer to home, but also something to generate its own income. So
Mhm.
when that is a separate business, it is a separate business. It is something that I do with my kids so they know, okay, well, this is how you have to work to do things. You don't have to work hard. So I'm probably setting a terrible example of that because literally it does what it needs to do for itself. But it's also me changing the way I would need the world to see us and shaping that narrative to what Black excellence looks like and generational wealth for them. I just needed something close by. I That's it. And when I was going through this journey, we were doing our Daniel fast and we were reading this book called Draw the Circle. And there's a Kroger, literally, I could walk to Kroger from my neighborhood. Well, next
Okay.
to Kroger is another studio, was an open studio space. I said it was studio space. It used to be a nail spa, but I was trying to figure out, oh my God, how I could turn this into a studio, right? It wasn't for me. It wasn't for
Mm.
me. It was smaller. it They took forever to get back to us, and then finally when they did, it was way more than the studio we had that was double the square footage. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay, well, this isn't going to be it, because I already know going into it, when you start a business, you're going to lose a little bit of money. So we took money from Photos by LJK and from our savings and kind of put that together to get what is now Black Story Studio.
I mean, and I don't, I mean, actually, I do know what the space looked like because I followed you on Instagram. Like, I
Hmm.
followed you forever. We're going to talk about those Instagram reels in a minute. But I mean, I do remember what the space looked like. And I feel like even when the space was empty and before you guys did everything that you did, it still felt very much like a Lejeune King space. It really did. I can't imagine you opening a studio next to a Kroger. That just doesn't give the Lejeune vibe. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if it was cheaper or how much money you put into it to make it nice. I can't imagine you owning a studio that's next to a Kroger. Like that would just bring the wrong element.
I mean, you could be right. There could have been a whole bunch of reasons why that just did not work out for us. But it also falls into those, you think you know until you know. You have no idea. I just knew that that was going to be the studio. Like, I just knew it. And the one that we actually got had never been leased, so it was perfect.
Lejeune, if you don't mind me asking, how much money did you put into the studio? Not how much your lease is, but like in terms of buying the flooring, the props, all of that. Like how much did you have to put in? And then how much time passed until the studio was making a profit for itself? Because I feel like a lot of people, like even if they can find the space, I want them to have a realistic idea of, it's not just finding a space and opening the doors and being like, come to me.
Hmm.
That it doesn't
Hmm.
work that way.
First, I would say, if you give yourself a budget for your studio,
There you
you
go.
need to double and a half that budget. No lie. So we spent upwards of 75K to get everything going. Mind you, there are things that you don't think about before you become a studio owner until it happens to you. So, like that beautiful sign that is outside,
Mhm.
okay, if you pay attention to the shopping center that people's studios are in, or maybe now y'all will pay attention to signs. Your sign has to be a particular height, width. It has to have lights for it to be on. and off. So Black Story Studio is black in the day and it's white at night because the lights are on. It can only be a specific type of sign to fit the theme of the entire shopping center.
Mhm.
It's a lot. So I think that the sign put the nail in the coffin for me because I'm like, I thought I was gonna get, oh, let's no lie. I thought I was gonna have a banner, just get a Black Story Studio banner, put that up there. Cool, that'd be great, right? Because you see it all the time. And I'm not thinking whatever. And no, absolutely not. Okay, cool. Well, we'll just get like the basic, I don't know what they would be like, wired type sign, put
Mhm.
it up. Cool. Nope. Mm-mm. Like, it had to be a certain height, width, depth, and I think that thing has to be nasty, okay? I'm just gonna say it had to be big and nasty. And then they only give you 30 days from signing your lease to getting your sign up. So,
Wow, I didn't know that.
hmm it was,
So so let me ask you, Lejeune, because it seems like you got some feelings towards this sign.
hmm
Was that the most difficult part? Like, let's flip it. What was your favorite part of decorating the studio?
I guess doing the floors. We laid the floors because it was like a family affair. Like we had our neighbors come out helping us put the floor down. It took us 4 days. My least favorite part, but we found out that we had to add heating and cooling and get the ducts. And then there's this thing, called black tax, y'all. If you don't know what black tax is, it is simply someone coming out for a business, inquiring about, you're inquiring about services. They coming out looking at what you have going on, and they're asking who the owner is, and you may say that you are the owner, and then all of a sudden you have a black tax that's going to be added to your situation. So you may start to do something with that person, and they may fall off for whatever reason, and then you have to find someone else who's not going to add a black tax to what it is you're doing. So we had two separate people come out to do like even our ducks for the studio because the first one was a black tax. And then we learned it was a black tax by the price that we got for the second thing. So that was probably my least favorite thing to do because who budgets for an extra 15K with that when you're thinking, oh, it's just ducks.
Mhm.
Can't be bad. So that would be my least favorite. The sign was actually very exciting. The sign for me kind of like validated, oh my God, it's really here. People can find it. I can now take how to find us out of, their emails because I'm literally walking you step by step on how to get to it. So, but now we don't need that.
Awesome. So in terms of getting people, like how long did it take you before you got your first renter? Cuz that must have been exciting.
Oh, we got somebody in before we opened. So I got the keys in March and we did our soft launch on our anniversary, April 25th, and then we opened to the public on May 1st. Well, we had already had someone using the studio before we opened in April, but we decided the first month we gave everybody like a lifetime grandfather clause of what the price was at that time because I knew that we needed to increase the price because of all the beautiful things that we had in the studio.
Mhm.
It was just frightening to do because you don't see any other studio in DFW charging this much to be in a studio. So I'm like, well, we're probably not gonna book anybody, which at that time I was okay with. 'Cause I'm like, well, I could just use it myself and be okay. And we did. Like it was hard. Like when I tell you I was going back and forth, like, oh my God. Because it was already at like $85. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, $85. It's $10 more than what everybody else is doing. Okay, LeJune, you can do this. Cool. And I would just gradually go up to 90. And then I went up to 105. And then I brought it back down to 100. And then I'm finally stuck at 110. I was like, okay, cool, great. So now it's easy. It's easy for me to charge my worth. But that is things that we have to find as business owners. We have to understand our worth and find the value in what we do. And Unfortunately, I had to go through that cycle all over again with Black Story Studio, but I got it. Not only that, I got my husband on board with who our ideal clients are for Black Story.
Hmm.
He thought he didn't care. He was like, I don't care. I'll take anybody's
Anybody?
money.
Mm-mm.
Anybody. I don't care. Oh,
No,
that
sir.
tone changed extremely fast when we got a little hate inside the studio. Hmm. Not gonna say what they drew on one of our window panels, but let's just
Oh
say
God.
he turned it into love. He was able to turn it into a triangle, diamond rather, kite looking thing with love in it. Yeah. So in that moment, I think he realized, yeah, this isn't for everybody.
Now, Lejeune, I find it very interesting that you still had the gradual increases and the up and down because I feel like in your actual portrait business, like photos by LJK, I feel like I mean, see, look at your face. You guys
Yeah,
can't see
she
her
don't
face, but she's
care.
like, she don't care. She charges what she wants. So
Charge a
why
price.
did that exactly? Why did your confidence from your portrait prices not translate into setting the prices for your studio? Because I will say I mean, I have two sides to my business. There's
Yes.
photography and then there's Dubsado. And like, I mean, I was never cheap as a photographer, but I was certainly never cheap as a system strategist. Like, I learned my lesson from one side.
Yeah.
I wouldn't then do that on the other side. So why didn't you have the same confidence in setting the price of your studio that you have for your portrait prices?
I failed. Everything that I speak to about personal branding, I failed because I was worried about my competition. I was worried about, oh, they're not going to book us. I was worried about us being too far. I was worried about all the things that makes it unique and makes it great for them to want to come and work with us. I had to adjust my ideal client for the studio space. I was afraid to do that because the ideal client for Black Story Studio is not my ideal client for Photos by LJK.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be okay with that. I had to go through the motions of, oh, well, do you have a discount? Because we did try to do $75 Tuesdays, Coley.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I mean, Lejeune, the word discount is not in your vocabulary for your portrait business. So again, I don't know why you would try to put a discount
I don't
on your studio
know.
business.
Those Tuesday clients would try me. And being a Black woman in business, I can't just say what I want to say about how you treat the studio, even if you are trash. I had to be kind. I have to get pink starburst energy. And I just got to the point where I was like, it's gone. We are no longer doing $75 Tuesdays. It's just done.
Alrighty then.
Mhm.
So you finally landed on your clientele. What's your booking rate for like the studio? Like how many other photographers do you have coming in either on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis?
So we are typically 40 to 60% booked depending on the time of year. We actually went a full 16 months without having to come out of our savings. That is another thing people need to understand. When you have high, am I allowed to say bad words?
Oh, you're allowed to cuss as much as you want, Lejeune.
When you have high ass rent, that also goes into why you charge what you charge, right? But when you have really, it could be low rent for all I care. You just need to make sure that you have money set aside for moments where you can cover the rest of your
Hmm.
rent. That would have been great. My husband's really good at business, so, but it would have really been great to receive that from people because the world will make it look like everything is great and people are coming to these studios left and right, booking and all that. But the thing is, everybody might not be charging what you and I are charging for their sessions. And they may not know, okay, well, I could just charge the client to do this rather than me do this. No, they don't know
Yes.
any of that. And so sometimes it does get hard. Our really poppin' seasons are October through December, obviously, because Christmas and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I've learned that our slower seasons are January and February. unless they're purchasing in December to go into January, then you have some leeway. But it was really slow January and February. And so whenever it is slow, we do get really great bookings. So if it is slow, you may have some content creators who want to come into the studio and create their content. So I'm like, oh, this feels good. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Which helps push out our agenda, which is for every creative to be seen, within Black Story Studio.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, I do love that you are willing to talk about the numbers because, like you said, I mean, and this isn't just about opening a studio. I feel like this is what everybody thinks opening a photography business is. Like, you open a photography business, and all of a sudden, you're just going to be booked with all these people wanting photos. That shit
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
right.
And so, why would we expect it to be that way for any other business that we open? But yes, definitely having like a cushion. And I mean, I would say the same thing for like your photography business. Of course, fall season for anyone who photographs families is always going to be your busiest season. And you have to make sure that you are taking the money that you make in the fall and stretching it out over winter. Otherwise, you might be able to pay yourself a lot of money in fall and like early winter. And then when you actually get into winter, early spring, like your bank accounts are empty. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, most people would just be like, oh, well, I just won't pay myself. But for a studio, you don't have that option. You still have to pay
Right.
that lease to them
Right.
every single month. So let's talk about marketing
Mhm.
because I know that you are a great marketer for your portrait business. How do you market the studio or do you market the studio?
When I do, I kind of market it the same as I do my own business. You are going to look me up anyway. You're going to figure out who owns Black Story Studio. You're going to fall into the trap of, you may even make your way into TikTok and just follow me. And you can either be in shock and awe, or you can be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so happy to have somebody who is authentic, but she on this end and on this end, she's like dominating. So I show up how I show up. The bad part is I probably forget to show up a lot more for Black Story Studio. But even creating that content is always fun as well because it gets people to see the real faces behind Black Story Studio. I get to incorporate the kids coming in, doing what they're doing or lack thereof. When Demetrius is involved, he's like the Easter Bunny. So I get to have him dress up, and for an hour, he'll take photos with the kids for Easter and things like that. So I try to capture that kind of stuff, but I also want it to feel like a family establishment. So if they do see my kids, or if they do see my kids eating or running around the studio, one is on his game and one is actually Swiffering. That's real life. So, I want them to see, like, okay, this is a space for me to bring my kids so I don't miss out on a photo session. Or if I don't miss out on money, whoever's on the opposite end of that because I have kids and couldn't get a babysitter. So,
Hmm.
hmm
No, I mean, that's definitely one of the benefits of having the studio. And I love how in your studio you have the separate spaces and they all look so different. And of
hmm
course, you do have a place for your kids to hang out if they're not with
hmm
a babysitter, which is super, super awesome. So I just want to, I guess I just want to give a shout out to your supportive husband. I feel like those of us that have supportive partners tend to make it further in our, solopreneur businesses than others. And I do love that, I mean, it is y'all's family business, but I do love that, he's in there and he gives you what you need. And it's always great to have a supporting partner like that. Now, my husband has absolutely no business sense, guys. So please don't think that I'm saying that James really does anything in my business. He does not, but he is very supportive of everything that I do. My husband is definitely a lab rat. He knows how to, do his biochemistry things. And I don't really ask much more of him than that. I wish I could, which Lejeune brings me around to. Let's talk about, because we've known each other for longer than these photography businesses. I know that you went to UTA. Tell
hmm
me what you studied, because I think it's so interesting that it has absolutely nothing to do with either of your businesses.
Let me just say, before we get into that, the best thing that came out of UTA was my husband. Okay.
Mm,
Um, he and I had the same major, not the same minor.
okay.
He's Yeah, but same major. So that means that we had almost every class with each other. So
Aw.
the good days were good, the bad days were terrible, and he wouldn't buy his books. So when he wouldn't buy his books, he would borrow mine. And if he didn't come to class, he didn't take notes, he would borrow mine. And when we were fussing and fighting at each other, guess what? He got neither. So he just found a way not to get around the system and not have to buy books. But my major was criminology, and my minor was in Spanish.
I
Mhm.
mean, Lejeune, I literally don't understand. How do you go from that to having a photography business and then opening a studio? Like, what was
Mhm.
your transition from I'm in college studying criminology? Like, did you want to be a CSI person? Like, what did you
I
think you were going to do?
did.
Okay.
I did. I wanted to be, well, I wanted to be a corporate investigator. However, I got profiled a lot in college to the point where I said, I'm just going to finish this degree and be done with it because now that I think about it, back in the 90s, early 2000s, I could have been a Sandra Bland.
Mm.
I
I
think
mean,
about
I went to Prairie View, so that hits rather hard.
Yeah,
So,
I literally think about that. I got harassed so many times by one officer in particular to the point where I had to report him. My husband the same way, but it was just something that I was like, yeah, I can't respect it. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do it. And the good thing is I was fluent in Spanish,
nice.
maybe even 3 years outside of graduating college. Not anymore.
Anymore. It's okay.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes we just let those college things just fall by the wayside. It's okay. I mean,
And
I will say for us, I mean, James, his degree, he has biology and then biochemistry PhD, and he still uses his degree in his like daily job. And I
yeah,
was math and statistics and then education. And so technically, I don't really use my degrees either, but I do feel like they gave me a foundation for like
yes,
being,
of course.
research and data. And I mean, I took a lot of business classes in school, even though I wasn't a business major. But I
Hmm.
just think it's so fascinating when I'm talking to my guests and I'm like, okay, but like, where did you start? And like, how the hell did you end up here? Because that just don't make no sense. So why did you branch out into photography?
So the year that we got married, I decided to take a break from working. I used to work for the Limited. That's how I paid for school. I was a manager at the Limited. Feel like I worked at every last one of them in DFW, just about. And once we got married, I said, okay, I'm going to take a break because I had just closed the last one I was going to be at. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break about a month just to chill out because I've literally been working since the day after I turned 16. I would have worked on my birthday, but the guy said, enjoy your day. So I was like,
No,
okay, fine.
ma'am. I cannot imagine you working on your birthday.
Yes, that is how hungry I was to have some money. And so I took off for a little bit and I started traveling with him for work because at this time he was doing catastrophe claims where we would go to Louisiana for 21 days, do the claims for them, come back home, go somewhere else. And his uncle had gotten sick, I want to say the beginning of the next year, January ish, February ish. Mind you, we wind up going back in April, and I found out I was pregnant. And when we got married, Coley, I did not want to have kids. Let's back up.
Hmm.
I did not want to be married. I wanted to just live my life and have a boyfriend, which is cool. But I didn't expect to get married.
Okay.
Okay. I definitely didn't expect to have kids. Like, no, absolutely not. Don't want them, right? So, got pregnant. Everybody's excited. And I'm just bawling. I am just boo hooing. Because I'm like, how is this big old thing gonna come out of my body? Like, it's like a watermelon coming out of a sinkhole. I just couldn't wrap mind around that. And I'm like, it has to come out. And so I'm terrified the whole time. You should have saw me the last month that I had him. But I decided taking photos of Drew would be, my way to peace, sanity, just to have photos of my baby. And then that's when I started charging people about $50 for all of their digitals. And the good thing is, I did have a contract that I would send them over to scan, print off, and bring back to me. So I always had a contract. I don't necessarily know what it all had in it, but I gave them all their digitals for $50. And I had some type of system in place because I would always send the email. Like I would try to make up this how were we doing it back then? I don't remember, but maybe it was Photoshop. Make a little pretty sheet, and it had, me on there and what the session entailed. And then they signed for a model release, which was separate. But I did it. I created it, and that's what they would do. And I used to keep a folder of all of my contracts. I probably still have it. But that was the cutest little thing. And here we
I
are.
mean, I was what I was about to say. We have grown so much. I mean, it's funny. Every time I have a guest on that is like, I was charging $50 for all the digitals. And they're like, you know how that goes. I'm like, no, actually, I don't know how that goes.
Mm,
But I hear it quite often because
mm.
my starting price was 700.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
I was
Tully.
just, I was very different. Well, I didn't think, I mean, coming back to when you were talking about charging rent for your studio, you have to remember I live in a very different place. I don't live in DFW. So, like here, charging $100 for our studios is actually quite common. So, I mean, I know that there's like a price differential, even though you live in a very nice area of DFW. Let's
Yeah,
just let's
yeah,
just leave
yeah.
that there. But no, I didn't think we were going to stay here because I shot everyone for free, like absolutely for free while I was building my portfolio. And
Mhm,
then I was done and I was just waiting for James to tell me where we were going next because
mhm,
he was finishing his postdoc. And then when he got a job in Boulder, I was like, oh, okay, hold on. That night, I filled out my DBA for the state of Colorado. I was open. I was charging my $700 for a session with all the digitals included. But,
mhm.
and then it just went from there. But I do love hearing people's stories of how they started because while you started charging $50 for all of the digitals or whatever, I mean, now you charge thousands
Mhm,
and you have your studio and you're just like this is what it can be like when you put all your shit together and get your ducks in a row. And
mhm.
so I mean, Lejeune, I love chatting with you about all these things because just because you started with cheaper prices and not really knowing what you were doing, if you put in the effort and you learn, this is where you can go. Which actually, let me ask you this now that we're on this topic. What is the best investment that you made in your business? And it can't be your studio.
My mastermind um with Tamaya, like I feel like it's the point where you get as far as you can go in business and then you just can't do anything. Like you can search all the things, but you don't know what you don't know. I say this all the time. So if
Hmm.
you don't know that you can automate your systems, what does that look like? What is an automation? What is a workflow? Like the papers and emails that I was sending out manually, that was a workflow. It wasn't automated, but it was a workflow,
It was a
somewhat of a
process.
workflow.
It was a
Yes.
system, girl. Yes.
So it's just finding out, being in a room of like minds and people that want to educate, not just say, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to charge you $1 billion, but you're going to get the same stuff that you can find on the internet from me. And yay, and I have your money. It wasn't anything like that. Like, I feel like when I joined that program, it's got me to where I am today. You'd be surprised at how many other photographers I had voiced that I wanted to open a studio up, and they were pretty much speaking their own insecurities with what they had going on onto me.
Hmm.
And it's so bad I want to be like, but I'm not you. I mean,
There you go.
what about me makes you think that I am set up to fail A, or B, would not have a plan B, C, D, E,
Hmm.
F, or G? So I learned to move in my own light, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. If I mention something, just be glad that you have the honor of knowing that I'm doing this before I'm about to do it. But my biggest takeaway was joining the mastermind group. The only thing I could just say is like, people will people. Okay. If I opened the studio based on what everyone else thought I should do, what everyone assumed I could be comfortable with, I wouldn't be at Black Story Studio.
Mhm. No, and I mean, many, many, many people have said this on the podcast in that, mentoring, coaching, masterminds, all of that was their best investment because, like you said, there is only so far that you can go. And then you need to ask for help. You need to like put your dreams out there and get some feedback so that you figure out the direction to go in next. But
Hmm.
it's also important to find your people, guys, because just because Tamaya's mastermind worked for Lejeune doesn't mean that's the right space for you. But there
Hmm.
is a space for everyone if you look
Hmm.
hard enough. Like you
Hmm.
will find your people that are invested in you and are willing to push you and can help you get to the next level just like they're trying to get to the next level. So, I mean, it's so nice to hear that that was like the turning point for you. What changed after joining the mastermind? Like, do you have one or two specific things? Because I mean, you opened the studio, we've talked about that, but is there anything in like your portrait business that you can point to that was like different from
Hmm.
before you started the mastermind and then after you started the mastermind?
I started making money. I Imposter syndrome. No, like for real, imposter syndrome will make people think that, okay, I'm going to charge $150 and I'm going to give them 10, 15 images. And not only that, when it's time to view their images, I'm going to edit all of them just so they can see them. And I'm hoping that they're going to buy them. Now, that's not what I do. Like, I showed up online. I'm showing up in 2020 because I was like, yeah, whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going back to work, so I'm just going to show these people my real self. When that helped me, but because I was able to have a streamlined focus of what it is that I needed to do to grow my business, I'm able to make money. I made the most of my money in March of 2021 from TikTok
Okay.
clients. So I am on here showing my entire behind to people, and they love it so much that they want to come work with me and make sure she is who she is and she's really going to give me a great experience. Something else, I, I guess I would say an educator, a speaker of conferences. I don't
Hmm.
like to call myself a teacher because I'm not certified for that or anything. Um, that's not my ministry, but I'm able to educate people on how I've gotten this far, how I've grown my brand, how it is what it is today, and share my successes because there are times as a photographer, a creative, we forget to celebrate how far we've come.
Hmm.
And on the flip side, there are people saying that you're not doing enough, whereas you're doing way more than they were. So I don't even understand it. But yeah, so I've just learned to be in a space of celebrating every single moment and helping people grow, helping people break the stereotypes of being like myself, a black woman in business, and just spreading joy. I spread more joy because I'm happier in my business. Hmm.
No, I get that. And like what you said, like a lot of it is gatekeeping.
Hmm.
Like we feel like there's something that we should have and that someone else is like keeping it from us. And so
Hmm.
by joining like, a mastermind, getting a coach, doing going to conferences, doing those kind of things, you can get access to, what it is that you think is being held behind doors from you. But I mean, in all honesty, guys, you just have to find someone and ask them. Most people, most photographers, most entrepreneurs want to see other people succeed. And so if
Hmm.
you just ask them, hey, what was your biggest mistake? What would you suggest that I do next? People are willing to impart that information to you because, at the heart of it, I want to see every entrepreneur succeed. It breaks my heart when like local restaurants close because they don't have enough business. It breaks
Yeah.
my heart when photographers can't make, a sustainable income from the business and they end up going back to a 9 to 5. Now, granted, there is nothing wrong with getting a job, but if that's not what you want, I hate to see it for you if that's what you end up doing because you can't figure out how to make the business work for you, your lifestyle, your family.
That's
Lejeune's taking a
fantastic.
selfie of us.
If you see my
Lejeune,
eyelashes, mind your business.
oh, okay. Lejeune, so I mean, that's all that I have for today. Where can everyone find you on the socials in case they want to get a dose of Lejeune on TikTok because it is a sight to see, y'all?
Okay, great, everybody. You can find me at Photos by LJK on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. If you would like to find my studio, or if you're in the Frisco area and you need a space to rent, we are here for you. It is Black Story Studio. It is BLKSTRY Studio.com. It's amazing. You can check us out on Instagram as well. And thank you so much for having me, Coley.
That's it for this episode, guys. See you next time.